They are already here. Right now, somewhere in your life, there is a person who watches you the way a chess player watches a board. They are not angry. They are not broken. They are calm, patient, methodical, and they see something in you that you do not even see in yourself. They see an opening, a vulnerability, a door that you left unlocked because you trusted the world enough to leave it that way. This is the psychology of psychopaths, the predators who walk among us. And by the end of this, you will never look at the people around you the same way again. But here is the question that should keep you up tonight. How would you know? If the person sitting next to you at dinner, the one who laughs at your jokes and remembers your birthday and asks about your mother with that look of genuine concern in their eyes, had no soul behind those eyes, how would you ever figure that out? What if the warmest person you know is the coldest one in the room? What if the hand on your shoulder does not belong to a friend, but to something else entirely? That is where this journey begins, not with monsters hiding in the dark, but with something far more unsettling. Monsters who have learned how to stand in the light. Let us start with what most people get wrong. When you hear the word psychopath, your mind probably goes to a dark place. You picture someone violent, someone dangerous in an obvious way. Maybe a character from a horror film, someone with wild eyes and a sinister grin, or maybe a headline from the evening news about someone who finally snapped. But that image, the one Hollywood and true crime shows have burned into your brain, is a lie, or at best, it is a very small piece of a much larger and far more disturbing picture. The truth is that most psychopaths are not in prison. They are not lurking in alleyways waiting for the right moment to strike. They are in boardrooms making decisions that affect thousands of lives. They are in relationships, lying next to someone who loves them. They are coaching your kid's soccer team. They are your neighbor who always waves and smiles and brings cookies during the holidays. And the reason you do not see them is because they have spent their entire lives learning how not to be seen. Not how to hide, mind you. How to blend. There is a difference between those two things, and that difference is everything. Researchers have studied this for decades, trying to peel back the layers of a condition that is as fascinating as it is frightening. Back in the middle of the 20th century, a psychiatrist published a groundbreaking work that changed the way the medical world understood this kind of personality. He called it the mask of sanity, and that phrase alone tells you everything you need to know. A mask, not a face. A mask, something worn deliberately, something crafted with care and adjusted depending on the audience. One version for the boss, another for the partner, another for the stranger on the street. And none of them are real. Every single one is a costume, tailored to perfection for whatever role the moment demands. Think about that for a moment. Really sit with it. Imagine waking up every single day and putting on a performance. Not because you are nervous or insecure or trying to impress anyone, but because the feelings that other people have, the ones that guide their choices, shape their relationships, and give their lives meaning, simply do not exist inside of you. Love, guilt, shame, remorse, compassion. These are just words to you. They are concepts you have studied the way someone might study a foreign language in a textbook. You know the grammar. You can form the sentences. You can even mimic the accent. But you have never once, not for a single heartbeat, felt the meaning behind any of them. That is what it is like inside the mind of a psychopath, and it is not chaos in there. That is the part most people miss completely. It is not a storm of rage and violence. It is still water, perfectly calm, perfectly clear, unnervingly quiet. And that calm, that eerie stillness, is what makes them so devastatingly effective at what they do. While everyone else is drowning in their emotions, reacting, overreacting, doubting themselves, losing sleep, the psychopath is watching from the shore, measuring, calculating, deciding who is useful and who is not. Now, you might be wondering how someone like that functions in everyday life without being caught. The answer is simple and deeply troubling. They function beautifully. In fact, they often function better than the rest of us. They climb corporate ladders faster. They charm their way into relationships effortlessly. They navigate social situations with a precision that would make a diplomat jealous. And that is the terrifying part. It is not the dysfunction that gives them away. It is the perfection. Consider the profile of someone we will call David. David is a senior executive at a large company. He is charming in the way that people describe as magnetic. He remembers names. He gives firm handshakes. He makes eye contact that feels almost too steady, too present, like he is looking not at you, but through you. People trust David because David makes them feel seen. He asks the right questions at exactly the right time. He mirrors your energy with uncanny accuracy. If you are excited, he matches your excitement. If you are worried, he lowers his voice, leans in close, and puts on a face of deep concern. He is a mirror, reflecting back exactly what you need to see in order to feel safe, understood, and connected. But behind that mirror, there is nothing. No warmth, no care, no genuine interest in your well-being or your problems or your dreams. David does not hate you. That would require emotion. David simply does not think about you at all once you leave the room. You are a tool, a stepping stone, a resource to be managed, utilized, and eventually discarded. And the moment you stop being useful, David will remove you from his life with the same ease and indifference that you might delete an old phone number. No anger, no sadness, no second thoughts, just a quiet, efficient clearing of space for the next person who can offer him something. This is what researchers call the high-functioning psychopath. And they are far more common than you would ever want to believe. Some studies suggest that as many as 1 in every 25 people shows significant psychopathic traits. That means in a room of 100 people, at a party, at work, at church, there could be 4 of them. 4 people who are watching the room not to connect with anyone, but to calculate their next move. 4 people who see your kindness not as something beautiful and worthy of respect, but as something exploitable, something they can use. And here is where it gets even more uncomfortable. These individuals are not stupid. They are often brilliant. They understand human emotion better than most emotional people do. They have to. Their survival depends on it. Think of it like someone who is colorblind learning to navigate traffic lights. Aware-e, they cannot see the colors, but they learn the positions. Red is on top, green is on the bottom. They memorize the patterns, and after enough practice, you would never know they cannot see what everyone else sees so naturally. That is exactly what psychopaths do with emotion. They study it the way a scientist studies specimens under a microscope. They memorize the patterns. They learn that when someone cries, you are supposed to look concerned and maybe touch their arm gently. They learn that when someone tells a joke, you laugh. Not because it is funny to you, but because laughing is what the situation demands. They learn the timing of a comforting pause, the angle of a sympathetic head tilt, the exact pressure of a reassuring hand squeeze. Every single interaction is a script they have rehearsed 1,000 times over the course of their lives. And they perform it flawlessly, so flawlessly that even trained professionals sometimes struggle to see past the act. But there is a crack in the mask. There is always a crack, and it usually reveals itself in the quiet moments between performances when they think nobody is paying attention. Have you ever caught someone's face go completely blank the instant they turned away from a conversation? That split second where the smile drops like a curtain falling at the end of a play, where the warmth in their eyes just vanishes, replaced by something flat and empty and far away. That is the crack. That is the real face underneath. And most people never notice it, because most people are too busy thinking about themselves, too wrapped up in their own worries and distractions to catch that fleeting glimpse of truth. The psychopath counts on that. They count on your self-absorption, your busy mind, your tendency to see what you want to see. They count on your desire to believe the best in people. They count on the fact that you will fill in the gaps they leave with your own optimism and good intentions. You will tell yourself that David is just private, or going through a difficult time, or that he simply shows love differently than you do. You will make excuses for the emptiness you feel in their presence because the alternative is too frightening to accept. The alternative is that the person you care about does not have the capacity to care about you back. Not now, not ever. Now, this brings us to something even darker, something most people are not prepared to hear. The predatory nature of these individuals is not random. It is not chaotic. It is targeted. Precise. Psychopaths do not go after everyone equally. They are drawn to specific types of people, like a shark is drawn to blood in the water. Empaths, caretakers, people pleasers, healers, people who define their own worth by how much they give to others. If that sounds like you, pay very close attention, because you are exactly the kind of person a psychopath is designed to find. Think of it as a lock and key. Your empathy, your deep desire to heal and help and understand and fix what is broken, that is the lock. And their ability to mimic vulnerability, to pretend they need saving, to present themselves as a wounded bird that just needs the right gentle hands, that is the key. They walk into your life looking lost, looking hurt, looking like they have been through something terrible and just need someone, anyone, to finally see the real them. And you, with your big, generous, trusting heart, you step right in. You open the door. You welcome them all the way inside your world. And by the time you realize that the person standing in your living room, the person you have given your time, your energy, your love, your secrets to, is not who they said they were, the damage is already done. The roots have already spread. This is not about blame. Let me be very clear about that. If you have ever been manipulated by someone like this, it is not your fault. Not even a little bit. Your empathy is not a flaw. It is not a weakness. It is one of the most powerful and beautiful things a human being can possess. But power without awareness is vulnerability. And that is the real lesson buried inside all of this darkness. Not to stop feeling, but to start seeing. Not to close your heart, but to open your eyes. So how do you see them? How do you spot the mask before it wraps itself around your life? This is where it gets interesting, because the signs have always been there. You just were never taught to look for them. The first sign is speed. Psychopaths move fast in relationships, not physically, but emotionally. They fall in love too quickly. They commit too early. They flood you with attention and affection and grand declarations before you have even finished your first real conversation. Researchers call this love bombing, and it is one of the most effective manipulation tools in existence. It feels intoxicating. It feels like destiny. But real connection does not work like that. Real trust is built slowly, like a house, one brick at a time, through shared experiences, vulnerable moments, and the quiet accumulation of proof that someone is truly who they claim to be. If it feels too perfect too fast, that is not magic. That is strategy. The second sign is the gap. Watch what they do, not what they say. A psychopath's words are always perfect. Carefully chosen, beautifully delivered, impossible to argue with. But their actions tell a completely different story. They will promise the world and deliver nothing. They will apologize with tears in their eyes and change absolutely nothing about their behavior. They will tell you that you are the most important person in their entire life, while treating you like an afterthought the moment your back is turned. That gap between their words and their behavior is the canyon where the truth lives. And the wider that canyon grows, the more certain you can be that something is deeply wrong. The third sign is the reaction test. Psychopaths are fascinated by your emotional responses. They will say something slightly cruel, and then study your face like a scientist recording data. They will push a boundary and measure exactly how you react. They will create small, unnecessary moments of conflict or confusion just to see how you handle the pressure. This is not about the conflict itself. It is about information gathering. They are testing your limits, mapping your emotional landscape, figuring out precisely how far they can push before you push back. And if you never push back, if you always forgive and always explain away their behavior and always give them one more chance, they know they have found exactly what they have been searching for. But here is the part that changes everything, the part that most people never talk about, because it shifts the focus in a direction that makes us uncomfortable. Understanding the psychopath is not really about the psychopath at all. It is about you. It is about the parts of yourself that you have been ignoring or denying or running from for years, because the psychopath can only exploit what you refuse to see in yourself. If you do not know your own worth, someone will come along and define it for you, and you will believe them. If you do not set firm boundaries, someone will walk right through the empty space where those boundaries should have been standing. If you believe that real love means sacrificing everything you are, someone will take everything and call it love, and you will thank them for it. The psychopath does not create the wound. They find it. They press on it with surgical precision. And they use your own pain to keep you exactly where they want you. So the deepest protection is not just learning to identify a psychopath across the room. The deepest protection is learning to know yourself so thoroughly, so honestly, that no one can ever use your own blind spots as a weapon against you. It is learning to sit with the uncomfortable truth that not everyone who smiles at you wishes you well. It is learning to trust your instincts when something feels off, even when every logical part of your brain is screaming that you are overreacting. There is a quiet kind of courage in that. It is not the loud, dramatic movie scene kind of courage. It is the kind that happens in the small, private moments when no one is watching. When someone crosses a line, and instead of laughing it off, you say something. When a relationship feels wrong in your gut, and instead of trying harder, you walk away. When you choose yourself, not out of selfishness, but out of a deep, unshakable self-respect that refuses to be negotiated away. The psychopath fears this version of you, not the angry version, not the paranoid version, not the version that reads articles and suspects everyone around them. They fear the aware version. The person who sees clearly through the fog. The person who trusts themselves enough to act on what they feel without needing anyone else to validate it first. The person who does not need external approval to know what is real and what is performance. That person is untouchable, not because they have built walls around their heart, but because they are grounded, rooted so deeply in their own sense of self that no amount of charm or manipulation or sweet words whispered in the dark can pull them loose. And that is the ultimate lesson hiding inside this dark subject. The study of psychopathy, when you really strip it down to its core, is not a study of evil. It is a study of what happens when empathy is absent from a human mind. And by understanding that absence, by staring directly into that void without flinching, you come to appreciate the presence of your own emotional depth in a way you simply never have before. Your ability to feel, to truly and deeply feel, is not a burden. It is not something to be ashamed of or to apologize for or to medicate away. It is your single greatest gift. The fact that you can love so deeply it physically hurts. That you can feel another person's pain as though it were carved into your own chest. That you can sit with grief, real heavy grief, and let it move through you without running from it. That is what makes you human. That is what the psychopath studies and mimics and performs, but will never, not for one single moment in their entire existence, actually possess. And no amount of practice, no matter how years of rehearsal, no matter how convincing the mask becomes, can ever replicate the real thing. So as you move through your life after hearing all of this, pay attention. Not with fear, not with paranoia, but with a quiet, confident awareness. Look at the people in your world with clear eyes. Watch the space between what they say and what they actually do. Trust the feeling in your gut when something does not add up, even when you cannot put it into words yet. And most importantly, remember that your sensitivity, that thing you may have been told your whole life is too much, is not something to be managed or muted or apologized for. It is something to be protected, guarded, honored, because it is rare, and it is powerful, and it is irreplaceable. In a world where some people feel nothing at all, the ability to feel everything is a kind of superpower. And the more you understand the minds that lack that power, the more you understand just how extraordinary yours truly is. If this stirred something inside you, if it made you think a little differently about the people in your life or even about yourself, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We go deep here. We explore the corners of the human mind that most people are too afraid to look at. And the next time we meet, we are going even deeper. I will see you there.